What's up everybody, my name is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today's Wednesday, June 24th. Now in today's dog video, we are going to be discussing the beginning of Operation Dog Domination Phase 3. This is a free float capture, the final accumulation push. Now, what have you noticed in the dog price today? Well, Bitcoin took a massive dip to 62,000 to 60,000. Now at the time of this recording, 59,000. So you'll obviously notice that most altcoins and meme coins will take a hit. But what I actually noticed on chain is that we're actually seeing that the Binance is actually influencing the dog price, even going on Solana to accumulate dog. Now, what I want to explain to you in this video is how we can actually win this battle. And what we're going to be focusing on is accumulating the 4.21% free float, and why that's very important. Because as of this morning, dog reached a new all-time high for long-term holders at 82.21%, with the short-term holder supply still reducing to 17.79%. And as you know, within that 17.79, 13.7% is the Binance cluster. So this is the battle, the final push to accumulate who can win the 4.21%, and why this is very important for the dog army to get, and why this sets up a really massive event for a short squeeze. And why this is important, well, let's talk about it in this video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X. Please be careful with any of the scammers down in the comments below. I'll never reach out via WhatsApp, Telegram, direct messaging, or email, so please be careful and invest safely. Guys and girls, let's get right into it. So before we begin, I want to give everybody an update on the fundraiser that we are doing for Cryptolution. As you know, for the past 2 years, we have been reporting dog on an absolute 100% volunteer effort. Now, for the next 2 years, I want to keep reporting on dog. So this is what this fundraiser is for. So right now, we have roughly raised 4.6 million dog tokens. So we're about 23.40% funded out of the 100%. And the 100% would lead us into a 20 million dog goal. So right now, we've had over roughly 15 to 16 community members contribute to this cause. So right now we have Bitcoin Keys, and as you know, the #1 spot receives a dog a Bitcoin Silver medallion once we reach the 20 million dog goal. And currently Dog Social Club, also shout out to Dog Social Club and Bitcoin Keys for contributing. Dog Social Club is currently right now in the #2 spot. And as you know, the #2 donor receives a one-on-one dog pizza ninja. This is a custom made dog specific pizza ninja that's within the collection. It's an ordinal, and you get to receive this on behalf of your contribution. Then we got to give a shout out to Greggy, Gani, another anonymous donor. If you are this anonymous donor that donated 250,000 dog, please contact me, letting me know your X user handle so I can put you in here correctly. Bitcoin Mama, Sal, Sheep Finance, Nick Will, Rafa, Dog Army Hispano, Papa Hurt, Yoshia, 2BFF Ben 63, and Dog Damasa. Shout out to all of you. Thank you so much for contributing. And keep in mind, if you're already on this leadership board, you can actually increase your donations at any time if you want to climb the ranks to score the #1 or #2 spot, or if you just want to support the channel. Just make sure to DM me and give me your X handle. And again, this supports the next 2 years of dog videos, research, updates, and community coverage, and I really appreciate it. Now, we have to talk about what's going on with the dog price. Now, as you know, dog price actually dropped roughly to around 56 million US dollars in market cap. That's on the Bitcoin L1, but also what I'm seeing on CoinMarketCap. But what have you noticed on Solana? Well, guess what? There was a wallet that was connected to a Binance wallet, and it accumulated roughly around 5 million dog tokens in this recent dip. And what I want to tell everybody is that this is kind of how it works. When people around the world are buying dog, not just on Bitcoin L1, but also in Solana, this is what's happening. But also, this is a wallet that's just linked to Binance. Now, are they associated with Binance? I don't exactly know, but what a crazy coincidence that they bought the exact bottom. And there's going to be a lot of influence within the dog price. So let's look into the dog price. So this is where dog's at right now. Now, keep in mind, not too long ago, this was roughly April 13th. Remember, this was just a couple days before we experienced the very first time the Binance Ghost wallet. Now, what do we notice is that the bottom at that specific point was roughly around 54 million, and then the dog price started to go up because Binance Ghost Wallet and the Binance Cluster Wallet knew exactly what we were doing. We exposed them and they increased the price, and then when we saw the network of wallets, they then capitulated the price, and then we found out roughly right over here on June 14th that within the 17 to 18% short-term holders, 13.7% of that was Binance, which was crazy. This was confirmed by Claude. And ever since then, you're seeing that they're trying to influence the price of dog. But notice that dog isn't capitulating as much as all the other testnet meme coins. Look at Pengu's down 9%, SPX down 8%, Bonk down 8%, Sheep, Floki, Doge, down 7%, Dog with Hat down 10%. Now, what have you noticed about Dog outperforming SPX? It's outperforming SPX by 4%. You can see that Dog right now is outperforming Pengu by 5.65%. Do you see these patterns? Right now, Dog is actually doing quite well because the long-term holders refuse to sell, even though Binance is trying to influence the price of Dog on CoinMarketCap and on CoinGecko, because on these websites, they actually calculate the price of Dog and every other meme coin or altcoin out there based on the liquidity flow between exchanges. But why are they doing this? Well, it's because when you see like things like this, CoinDesk just made a report today that says Rune's revival. Bitcoin traffic hits a 2-year high as transactions blast past 820,000 transactions. This is CoinDesk reporting this. It says a surge in Rune protocol activity is pushing Bitcoin transaction counts and fee generation to multi-year highs. When you're seeing reports like this, what is it telling you? It's telling you that Runes are back right now. And what Binance and most of these other big entities are is trying to make you look the other way. They want you to look at the price because they know you're emotional. They want to push you out of your bag so that they can buy, your short-term holders, that they can buy from the long-term holders. And that's why we need to talk about today, Operation Dog Domination. So let's talk about this in the next slide. So what are we talking about in terms of the supply? Why are we trying to capture this 4.21%? Because ultimately we're in a supply battle between the long-term holders, which is the Dog Army, and the Binance Cluster Wallet, which is the 13.7%. We're fighting for this remaining 4.21% free flow. So as you know, the Dog supply structure is more favorable than any surface metric reveals. Once the Binance cluster is correctly classified, which it is, the true organic free flow collapses to an extraordinary thin 4.21%. Now, when we focus on this Binance cluster, it's pretty frozen. Now, on-chain forensics have already confirmed, especially with Claude, that the 13.7% of Dog supply is linked to the 4 layers of Binance-linked wallets. Now, this supply is permanently classified as short-term holders due to the UTXO reset mechanics. It cannot age into long-term holder status, but it's also not selling. So basically what it takes is token, it actually distributes these tokens onto the exchanges, but never sells. It just puts them back into on-chain wallets. And why this matters is because Binance cluster wallets don't actually move in the open market. They permanently reset as a short-term holder, suppressing the long-term holder optics. True organic flow is paper thin once stripped out. Capturing it compresses sell side to near zero. So what the army is competing for is that 4.21% free flow. This is the last liquid supply before a supply shock, which we're going to talk about in terms of that short squeeze. And this is what Operation Dog Domination means today. It starts today. So phase 3 is not about hype. It's about precision accumulation operation, systematically absorbing the remaining 4.21% free float from short-term holders, converting weak hands supply into diamond hand conviction across 100,000 wallets worldwide. So the primary objective, as I said, is to absorb this float. And the secondary objective is to hold the line. So the 82.21% of long-term holders cannot become sellers, which you guys are not doing. You got to keep accumulating. We need to build this number even higher. Phase 3 will only work if the accumulation base stays locked. The tertiary objective is to grow the army. So new wallet onboarding expands the buyer base. So each new holder reduces the concentration risk. So if you can onboard people from different chains, that's an amazing thing, but you don't also have to do that. You can also accumulate Dog. And we're going to talk about how you can Dog cost average. So the core thesis from this Dog Army mission, from Operation Dog Domination, is that when long-term holder supply approaches total circulating supply minus exchange held tokens, any meaningful buy order, meaning like if it's 100,000, 10,000, 50,000, these orders move the market significantly upward. And that's where phase 3 is the setup for that regime. So this is how the phase 3 execution plan is going to work. Number 1, we need to have a recurring buy order. And what do I mean by that? It could be either $5 or $10 every single day. So if you have Kraken, Gate.io, BitGet, or MEXC, have a recurring buy order of just $5 to $10. And notice that I talked about not just Kraken, it's all these other exchanges. Then once you buy Dog on a daily basis with that recurring buy order, then you must remove that supply into your self-custody Xverse or Leather wallet. please do not use Phantom. Do not use any Solana-based wallet. Just use Xverse. I would prefer you use Xverse, and you just remove that supply off of exchanges, because when you remove that supply off of exchanges, the Binance wallets cannot use the exchanges to leverage and influence the price of DOG. In fact, they can, but they can influence it less. The whole point is you want to set it up for a big momentous short squeeze. Now, these coordinated buy windows actually end up being momentum stacking, because when you end up doing this on a daily basis, especially with a large group of Dog Army members around the world, it compounds and it actually makes a bigger effect. So once the holder recruitment does start, when you bring in people from different ecosystems, or if you're just buying Dog on chain, it actually accelerates the amount of absorption of that 4.21% free float going back into the long-term holders. And of course, on number 5, I'm going to be reporting a lot of this progress that we see between long-term holders versus short-term holders. Then most importantly, as I mentioned before, you got to resist any shakeout, hold during the volatility, because if you decide to sell even a little bit, it actually goes back into that 4.21% free float. You just got to hold on, because you have to set it up for a short squeeze. Next up, we have to talk about the coffee trade. Now, why do I talk about the coffee trade? Remember I talked about how you can have reoccurring buys of $5 or $10? Well, just think of it like this. A Starbucks latte can be up to around $10. So if you just skip that Starbucks latte for once a day, maybe make your own coffee, right? You can put that into DOG. If up to 100,000 soldiers do the exact same thing, the math becomes a weapon. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and slide the scale down to 100 holders, okay? So as I mentioned, if you take your $10 that you would have spent on coffee and put it into DOG, this is what would happen. So as you can see, if we only had 100 holders putting in $10, that'd be roughly around $1,000 of daily buy firepower. Now, as you can tell, based on what we're seeing, that's not going to help absorb that 4.21% free float. It's going to take forever. So notice that when I increase the holder count to, say, for instance, 1,600 holders buying $10 every single day, you can see that's going to take us roughly around 161 days, which is roughly around 5 months, to absorb that 4.21% free float. But let's increase it to much higher. What if there is about 5,300? You can see that the days reduce. Now it takes only 49 days to see that 4.21% free float go back into the long-term holders. What if I go to 10,000 holders? What if 10,000 DOG holders had reoccurring buys on Kraken, Gate, Mexi, or BitGet for $10 and then withdrew those tokens back into their Xverse wallet on chain? Well, guess what? It would only take us 26 days to absorb all that 4.21% free float of token supply back into the long-term holders, removing it away from the Binance cluster. What about 20,000 holders? If there were 20,000 holders of DOG that decided to have recurring buys of $10 every single day, we would see within 13 days that 4.21% would basically be gone back into the long-term holders. And I'll just go ahead and keep scrolling this, because you can just see how the scale keeps changing and the days keep reducing. And you can go ahead and freeze frame this video at any point in time as I'm doing this sliding scale, but this is kind of how it works. So as you can see, as I'm going to the 30,000, 7 days to zero float. And if we were to have 89,900 of the DOG holders out there on the Bitcoin L1, or even basically on Solana, this would be done in 3 days. Just if you spent $10 every single day for the next 3 days, all of you out there, all 89,000 of you, those $10 that you would have put into a coffee or a latte or any drink for that matter into DOG, we would get done with this in 3 days. That's what this Operation Dog Domination is all about, and it starts today. This is what we're talking about. So when you remove that 4.21% and everybody has those recurring buy orders of $5 or $10 on Kraken or any of the other exchanges, that 4.2% is going to go back into long-term holders, and there's just no supply left because Binance already has 13.7%. So what it ends up leading to is a short squeeze event. And we call this a supply compression, okay? Supply compression means literally a short squeeze event. So currently right now, based on the metrics that Claude has created, we are at currently 70% of extreme short squeeze risk. Meaning once we get that 4.21% float into the long-term holders, this is gonna get to 100% and that squeeze becomes active, just like that. So when you look at the exchange balance decline, you're removing those DOG tokens away from the exchanges. Then in terms of any leverage traders, if there's any exchange out there that has perpetuals or futures, God forbid, I hate those things because they're not actually the underlying asset, they actually hurt dog. So I would just beg for all the exchanges to remove perpetuals or futures by far. But if there are any out there, there's a leveraged short position face forced buybacks as price rises. So the thin float assets, liquidations buying is a feedback loop. Price up, more liquidations, price moves further up, if that makes sense. Then the wash trading reversal. So this Binance cluster currently has 0.90 to 1 wash ratio maintained at a price ceiling. If that cluster reverses to open market buying, the absence of sell walls could create rapid repricing. So because you remove dog price, because you've absorbed that 4.21% float back into the long-term holders, Binance has no choice but to push the price up, because if there's much demand from these short squeeze buyers, then that means they have to fulfill that, and they actually have to react to that by pushing the price higher, if that makes sense. Then you have Runes 2.0, which is happening right now. Remember, I just shared with you that article from CoinDesk. We had also reports from CryptoQuant, all reporting that Runes transactions have been resurging massively to record highs this year in 2026. So with that said, with this amount of Runes 2.0 igniting, it's setting it up for success. So let's go ahead and conclude this video. Okay, what can you capture from this mission directive? The float is the battlefield, the 4.21% free float. The dog supply is already in the diamond hands, which is you, the long-term holders. We need to absorb this 4.21% float. Phase 3 is the operation to absorb what remains, methodically, persistently, and on-chain for the world to verify. Remember, recurring buys every single day, $5 or $10. And then you withdraw those tokens into self-custody, mainly Xverse wallet, and then you hold during the volatility. And this is how we set it up for a short squeeze, because we set it up for new buyers to put any capital in. If it's like $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, $500,000, whatever it may be, it will send dog up multi-millions of dollars. And not only were you setting up for retail investors, we're also setting it up, believe it or not, for Binance, because Binance can just throw a couple $100,000, which is like very little compared to them, and that sends the price going up. And that's good for everybody. It's good for Binance, it's good for you guys, it's good for everybody's bags, honestly. And in my personal opinion, for them to make a lot of money off of dog, they need the price of dog to go up and to sell to other holders on OKX and other exchanges like Bybit or Coinbase or Crypto.com or Upbit, and use those new holders as liquidity at a higher price. Because they can't do it right now because it doesn't make any sense. They actually be losing money. So guys and girls, that is Operation Dog Domination. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember, this domination starts today. We got to absorb this 4.21% free float back into long-term holders' hands. So I want to keep seeing the long-term holders percentage increase. And I just want to remind everybody, again, the fundraiser is getting close to reaching our goal. We're at 23% right now. So if you want to support us for the next 2 years to create dog content on a daily basis, please contribute to this cause. You can see here on X, I've already pinned this specific post to my X account. There is the Runes address where you can send your dog donations. Make sure to DM me your X handle and the amount that you donated so that I can track your progress on here. And if you already donated and want to donate more to climb the leadership board, again, feel free to give me a message, send me a DM, and let me know the amount that you've donated. And I'll also post this donation direction in the YouTube descriptions down below. So with that said, I really appreciate you supporting this channel. Let's kick off Operation Dog Domination right now, and I look forward to getting started. So let's go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to join us on X to receive all of our alpha calls and updates regarding Dog and the Moon. Till then, see you guys girls next time.